Alright lads, so today stepping away from all the 9th anniversary talk that we have been doing over the last couple of so days. Today I wanted to focus on a character that only came out less than a month ago. She's still new, right? Still worth talking about. Her individual banner is out right now. And that of course is 1000-Year Blood War Masaki. But not just her, I also want to highlight another character that recently resurrected the 1000-Year Blood War version of Nanao. And the best time to demonstrate both of these characters at the same time was in the Nightmare Guild Quest, which we recently did have. During this time when it was available, I was not at home, I was on holiday, but I was still able to record some gameplay and I want to use that for today's video. So real quick, before we even do jump into the gameplay, let's have a look at what makes these characters really good for Guild Quest. First and foremost, Masaki, really high damage output, has the Barrage Attack SA2, but most importantly, has a very high chance to inflict paralysis against any enemy in Guild Quest, assuming they are Aaroniero. Nanao in particular did get a good damage increase, but most importantly got a lot more utility on her SA2 as it does now provide extra stats thanks to the booster skill and also more protection thanks to the multi-barrier skill. She was also given weakened immunity, making her overall really good in this particular guild quest, although keep in mind her SA2, which is the best part about her, is still classed as a melee attack, so as a ranged character in a ranged guild quest, she can't do damage on that attack, but her SA1 and 3 can do damage and it still does overall help. But truth be told, she's mainly here for the boost and also protection, and at the same time is replaceable with a better character like Yukio, a premium alternative, and unfortunately a character that I just do not own. So if you are wondering what the build we are using today, in this case, this is what we are putting on Masaki. Just the general build that we are going with any SP character using overall good links. And then as always, SP level 10, bonus abilities are going to include full stamina and also SP. The Senkin be basically set for now. Exact same setup. And then of course, Abirama is going to be our main no attack damage character. In his case, he's max transcended. I'm using a golden Chappy holo bait. Probably could switch that holo bait for something like a Masanga, but I just chose to use a holo bait in this case. And we are using 3 normal attack damage soul traits. So I believe for my first 2 runs that you are about to see here, we did take it into the very hard guild quest because of course at the time, Nightmare was available, but Nightmare isn't always going to be available, right? Most of the time when we are using Masaki and even now in guild quest, it is going to be up against the very hard guild quest. So I wanted to see and try and get a good feel of the character. Now what you are going to notice again, almost every time a boss spawns in, this is probably the best part about it, and it's kind of a crazy combination, having that increased chance with paralysis. We were never able to get here. Like, it's nice that Masaki as a character does have the auto revive if my teammates do die, and we also have the barriers. We don't even need those things. We generally don't, because every time an enemy spawns in, they're going to get paralyzed, right? In this case, as you can see here, for our very first attempt, maybe it wasn't even the greatest run, but we very easily got 30 seconds remaining. And keep in mind, when I was doing this, again, I was on holiday. I wasn't really trying to go for like the best clay temp, especially because Nightmare was available. But for my first attempt, I was actually relatively impressed. And I think the most impressive part about her is, let's say if you're a new player that is maybe just first attacking Guild Quest for the first time, right? Maybe you don't have the best character where you're able to go through all waves super fast. Having that just pretty much guaranteed security to always inflict paralysis is actually really nice for those teams that aren't clearing as fast. Jumping into our second run though, what I want to have a look at here is her SP boost, because one of the best parts about her, as we did talk about in the last run, is that guaranteed chance, not guaranteed, but very high chance, it feels like it's guaranteed, to inflict a stat element, paralysis in this case. But in ways it potentially can work against you, in the case right now potentially where the SP boost does wear off, and we can't reapply a stat element because the boss is already paralyzed. Now lucky for us in this case, Zappa was basically taken care of within a second, so it was kind of fine. That boss, I think Grimjow, absolutely got deleted with the SA2 barrage attack, where again we do 80% more damage upon using it. Aaroniero also went down super quick to the point that going into Okura, we're able to use our soul bomb. And unfortunately, the weirdest part about this character is the soul bomb, right? And not even weirdest part, it's the weakest part about her, because one of the best parts that I like about Masaki here is that she doesn't have a problem taking down the Aaroniero enemies. Whenever we're doing, you know, Captain GQ or ESPADA GQ, most notably ESPADA GQ, these ESPADA killer characters don't have killer against the Aaroniero because they're never paired with 2 killers. Most of the time, they strictly only have a Sparta killer, and because of that, those small enemies, those smaller Aaroniero, can sometimes be quite a nuisance to take out on, especially in difficulties like Nightmare. If you use someone like Okura, you might have realized that, where you're spending more time, too much time than you'd actually like to, taking out the small Aaroniero instead of just strictly focusing on the Espada. In the case of Masaki, because her damage output's so high, at no point did we ever really have to worry about the small Aaroniero on our screen, especially when we use an SA3, it absolutely wipes out all of them. But like a lot of characters, to be fair, her summon isn't like that ridiculously overpowered. Most of her damage output does come from the strong attack, so when you do use your soul bomb, you might notice that some of the little mini-mobs are still left alive. It's not that big of a deal because they are paralyzed. They're pretty much taken down relatively quick. But I did notice in the second round that when we did use our summon, there was still some enemies left alive. But because we do apply paralysis, we do apply weakened defense, one tap does take him down, so it's not that big of a deal. Next up, though, and every run after this is only going to be in the Nightmare Guild quest. Obviously, she's going to be a really good character for this. The best character you can use in the Nightmare GQ right now, or when it was available, and in the forthcoming future. But I do want to put this right away for this very first run, that when this Nightmare Guild quest ever does come back, because it will come back in the future, Masaki probably isn't going to be nearly as good as what we are seeing right now. Mainly due to the circumstance of the first boss, the boss that is the weakest, being a speed character where we have attribute disadvantage. That's okay, because it's the first boss, right? The final boss, though, being a technique character, means that we do have attribute disadvantage. So, in terms of attribute order, Masaki is at her best during this quest, but at the same time, kind of similar to what we saw with Bambietta when the Range Captain Guild quest first came around, is that the bosses themselves and the enemy layout is different, and they're more grouped together to take full advantage of Masaki's kit, more so that SA2 barrage attack. But going through this quest, as you can see, we are doing quite a lot of damage, and we were able to clear this quest with 17 seconds to spare in our first attempt, and that's actually really good, right? Remember, we aren't using any crazy powerful, we are using crazy powerful characters, but in terms of Transcendence, Nanao's only 2-5, not like her Transcendence really matters to begin with. Masaki's only 1-5, and we were using a 5-5 Abirama, but I don't think a max Transcendent Abirama here was actually all too needed. We had 17 seconds to spare. That was plenty of time that you could probably make up for it if you had a worse Transcendence set on your characters. Now, I do want to say, I think Abirama right now is definitely your best non-attack damage character for this phase, especially when paired with someone like Masaki, because there is a character, Okura, that does have a very high damage output, that being the Cacao Society version, right? Especially when he does inflict the stars on him. But what you're going to notice with Masaki, he's never going to get a chance to inflict the stars on him. So I think you're definitely better off running someone like Abirama in your team, because he's just doing consistent damage output and he isn't reliant on inflicting the stars on him to get really high damage. Sure, if you bring Okura, you might want to let him inflict the stars on him first, but I think it's going to be too RNG dependent, and given that Masaki has a really good chance to inflict paralysis, more so than Okura, you're very rarely going to see Okura with that attack boost, with Masaki also having the SP boost, right? But going into it though, what I really do like is using that SA1, sometimes even 3, inflicting the stars on him, in this case paralysis, giving the SP boost, and then making quick work of the boss with that barrage attack SA2. It felt really fun to use in this quest. It felt powerful, especially when the enemies themselves are all grouped apart, or grouped together more so. In this case, for our second run though, very similar clear time across the board, 15 seconds, a tad bit slower, but still good nonetheless. Jumping into our next run, I do want to quickly talk about Nanao. Of course, as already mentioned, she is replaceable, and probably a better replacement is someone like Yukio. But I think Nanao's a character that she's there if you don't have Yukio, right? Because I don't have Yukio. So in this case, I would have probably used someone like Mana Orihime instead as my team booster, and she there wouldn't have been doing any damage. Nanao isn't doing that much damage, to be fair, but sometimes there are cases where her damage is actually noteworthy when she does use her SA1 or her SA3. So I think her damage definitely does contribute, probably not that important. And truth be told, you could probably rock Nanao with Golden Chappies and give her a level 10 attack stat. Like, sure, she doesn't have Fly +1, but she's still able to do some damage, especially when most of the time she is using her normal attacks, right? But again, she is really here just for the team boost. But I do like her upgrade that she did get with a Resurrection, because I don't think I would have used it otherwise. I think I would have stuck with Maid Orihime instead, but thanks to her upgrade, I did use it in my team, and I was happy to have her. And now, actually, with the Special Move Trial Quest, I was able to get a Max Transcended, or more so 5-5, and I think I'm definitely going to use her next time this ESPADA GQ does roll around. I think she'll be more impressive in the very hard guild quest than the Nightmare guild quest, because the enemies themselves have a lot less HP. For our next run, though, as you can see, very similar clear time, 16 seconds. Very consistent with this team, what you are seeing here. But jumping into my next run, what I want to have a look at here is Masaki's SP boost, right? Because as I did mention, especially in Nightmare GQ when the boss have a lot of HP, if you actually kill too fast, it can actually hurt you to a certain extent, because as you're going to see here, right, we have the SP boost, and then we inflicted Zapro with paralysis, and now by the time I start using my barrage attack SA2, the SP boost is gone, and we've wasted kind of a bit of extra, damage. Lucky for us, though, the SP boost did actually come back. The paralysis did wear off, but there are going to be times where, you're using your strong attacks, or you have strong attacks ready, and you kind of don't want to use them because your SP boost isn't here, and you can't inflict an SP boost because the boss is already paralyzed. But I think more often than not, it's not that noteworthy or noticeable, but sometimes it does happen, right? So sometimes you might have to actually reset the app or try again. Lucky for us, by the time this GQ did come around, we have access to 10 guild quest passes, so I didn't have to do too much resetting. Aaroniero got paralyzed. In this case, we're using our SA2, and we're doing a lot of damage here. If you can actually make it out, it's doing 500k per hit. And remember, this is on Nightmare Guild Quest, right? So with this SA2 barrage attack, it does have 45 hits. 45 times 500,000. Essentially, if we were able to get all the hits off, which I believe we did, we were doing like 22 million damage on that SA2 alone, which is absolutely crazy, right? And the best part about Masaki, in my opinion, of course, is that increased chance to inflict paralysis, but it's the fact that we can inflict paralysis. So at no point do we ever have to worry, and that's why I also like, having someone like Now on the team. At no point do we have to worry about taking any damage because the Now's ghost is protected, but at the same time, chances are anyone that's getting hit or even radius with that SA2, they're getting paralyzed, and then we're just doing even more damage. And in this case, for this run, we were actually tap it first, they're getting 19 seconds remaining. But I think that's enough footage for today. I did do a few more runs, and for the most part, we were just getting very consistent clear times, 15 to 18 seconds. My best run, as I was able to get, was 19 seconds, but I heard you can definitely get faster. I didn't have a lot of time to reset when I was actually playing these runs, but I believe you can get upwards to maybe 25 seconds with this team, which is actually really, really impressive. I think Masaki is a great addition to the game, and a much-needed support for the range, or not even support, main character for the range ESPADA GQ. Of course, we do have characters like Aaroniero, but Aaroniero wasn't as impressive in Nightmare GQ, especially if you don't have him max transcended, right? Aaroniero renewed is still a great character, but I generally don't think I'd be able to beat this quest if I didn't have Masaki in my team. So in my opinion, she definitely made my account better by summoning her. And if you did miss our most recent summons, right, through the free 1000 G Blood single, I did get a duplicate of Masaki. So by the time this quest comes back, my Masaki is going to be even better, as she now has a higher focus stat. And again, quickly stepping away from Masaki, actually did get all the spotlight in this video, rightfully so though. And now overall, also got a very solid resurrection. Again, I would not have been using her in my team if she did not get the skills that she did get upon resurrecting. More Berserker, more barriers, more stats from the boost, and overall being immune to weakening is a very good and solid upgrade, and it is exactly what she wanted upon resurrecting. So I'd like to think the Range ESPADA Guild Quest definitely got easier with these two new character additions, and I was honestly very happy to have both of them in my team. Excited to try this Guild Quest once more when it does come back, again now that I have Masaki 2.5, and now that I've also recently just got Nanao 2.5 out of 5, special move level 5, but I did get 250 SP on her 6 stat. So I'm very curious to see how this team is going to perform, but either way, that was the video for today. A tad bit late again, this GQ did come out like a week ago, but I did want to showcase this team, these two characters when they're still somewhat new, so do forgive me for being a tad bit late, but I hope you liked and enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys next time. Take care and peace.